You get new expectations, and you get new expectations, and here are the new expectations. Feeling a little bit like Oprah, handing out new expectations. I am excited to tell you a story about a company that I work with who had a lot of new people coming in the door, and they were explaining the new expectations. And in giving out those new expectations, they quickly realized that they were not holding all of their team accountable for these same expectations. And I am here today to tell you that there is a way for you to continue to raise the bar even as new people come in, and allow the veterans to showcase those expectations that you have for those bright-eyed, bushy-tailed new recruits, and that everyone is moving forward together with those consistent expectations. I'm really excited for this today, so let's get into it. Welcome back to episode 47 of the What If It Works podcast. And today we are talking once again about expectations. And now I know we've covered this topic before, so you want to go down to, I think, episode 5 or 6, where we talk about getting really clear with your expectations. That's not what we're talking about today. We are talking about making sure that the expectations you have set, your team is following, that you're holding everyone accountable to the same set of expectations. Let me tell you a little bit of a story. One of the gentlemen that I coach works at a facility where they had a big influx of new people. They had opened up a bunch of positions, so they weren't letting people go. Instead, they were opening more positions, and they had hired a large group. I want to say between 10 and 20 people. And as they were onboarding these new people, they were giving them the new expectations. Here's what time you need to be here. Here's how you clock in. Here's how you go from clocking in straight to your workstation. Here's the expectation for breaks. Here's the expectation for lunch, right? And really getting clear with these new people. Then they added something new, and they made the new people sign the agreement with the new expectations on them. And my client was really excited to share this with me one day. And he said, you know what? We've never made them sign them, but we're going to, because when we have conversations with them about being late or not going straight to their work area or being in somebody else's work area, we can pull out this form that they signed and have a conversation around the expectation. And I was like, that's amazing. And he said, my only issue is we're not holding our other staff to these expectations. We wanted to get really clear with the new staff because we didn't want them going down the path that our veteran staff have gone, which is becoming more lax with the rules and expectations and kind of doing their own thing. So we really buckled down for these new recruits. And he said, but now I don't want the veterans showing them or modeling inconsistent expectations. I want them modeling the same expectations. So we had a dynamite conversation about how he can do that, how he can pull them all in. He luckily meets with his entire team every single day. And so we had a great discussion about how the next day he was going to go into the morning meeting and say, hey, here is the piece of paper that all of our new recruits received. Let's go over these expectations, because these are not just the expectations for the new people. These are expectations we have in place for everyone to meet. And so let's be really specific and really clear. And we got off our call and he said, okay, I can do that. I'm ready to go. The following week he came back and he said, well, it went okay. And I was like, all right, tell me what happened. And so we walked through that. They sat everybody down. They had the new recruits and, the everyday employees there, and they handed out the piece of paper. And then he even made the veterans sign the the expectations. And he said, you know what? We just want to make sure that you guys feel good understanding what the expectations are. And this way we can all be on the same page and we can all hold each other accountable to these same expectations. And I said, okay, so how'd that go? He said it went really well. There were a couple that we've been really lax on that they asked some good questions about. And we had one individual who refused to sign. And I said, that's okay. That's good. It's good that someone was pushing back and challenging that this hasn't been consistently followed through on. And so how did that go? And he said, you know what? We decided to give him some space. And at the end of the day, before he clocked out, we just said, hey, can we have a conversation with you about the new, the expectations that we asked you to sign? And the gentleman had a great question regarding one of the expectations and said, this has not been consistently handled. And now you're making me sign something that management, you yourselves who are asking me to sign this, have not held other people accountable on. And so I want to be able to trust that if I sign this piece of paper, that you are going to hold everyone else accountable to what is on this piece of paper, that what we signed. And my client was able to reassure him that, yes, this is something we feel very strongly about. We feel like we need to be clear and we need to follow through with everyone in the same way so that we can truly thrive here at this company. And that gentleman signed the document before he left and handed it over to my client. And my client said it was a really good conversation. And I think sometimes we want everyone to just agree with us. And we want everyone to see things the way we see things. And that is not always going to be the case. And that is good. That is a good thing that people want their information clarified, that people want to be confident in what they are signing. That is a very good thing. And so I was able to walk my client through that he handled it like a pro and that he was super respectful with the individual. I was so proud of how he gave this person time to really think about what questions he may have or what, was kind of making him hesitate in signing that document. And then he went directly to the source. He could have said, you know what, we'll talk to him tomorrow morning. Or tomorrow we'll bring it up to the whole group that we have everyone's pieces of paper. We have everybody's contract except one. There could have been other ways that he could have handled this situation and this individual that were not as respectful. And so I was just so grateful that he handled this in such a way. And he even said, when he asked me those questions, I realized that's what was tripping him up. And so I know on this podcast, I've talked before about getting curious before you get frustrated. My client could have been so frustrated that this veteran staff member did not want to sign the expectation sheet. But instead, my client realized, okay, something is bugging him. Let's give him some time. And then I'm going to go have this conversation so that I can clear things up. And we can all be on the same page, which is exactly what we want in leadership and management. We want everyone on the same page. We also want everyone really confident in what is expected of them. Because when you are confident in what is expected of you, you can act in that way. You can match your behavior to what those expectations are. I want some of you hearing me that if you are unclear in your expectations, your teammates, your employees are unclear in what their behavior should be. And so you getting very clear on your expectation actually sets your team up for success because now they can take action that matches your expectations. I would love for you to reflect on what expectations is your team not meeting right now. Get out a piece of paper, make a mental note, make notes in your phone. But what are the expectations that you're having to revisit? What are the expectations that two of your teammates just will not comply with? Take a look and investigate what is not happening. And then take a minute, friends, for yourself to think about what has been said. what has been verbally said about these expectations, what has been written, what has been written in email, what has been written in a paper form handed to this individual about these expectations. So before we get frustrated that people are not acting in the way that you need them to at work, let's take a look at our own actions first. What have we done to set them up for success? What have we shared with them? What have we followed through on? A lot of times when I'm in coaching calls, people are very quick to point out all of the people who aren't doing what they're supposed to be doing. And then when I ask them, well, when was the last time you talked about these expectations? Leaders will say to me, oh, and they know. They know. They know what the expectation is. They know what time they're supposed to be here. They know when they're supposed to clock in. They know how they're supposed to act with customers. They know when they should take their breaks. My argument is, do they? Because they're not doing it. So there's something going wrong between them knowing and them acting. And instead of us getting frustrated with this individual, let's do everything within our own power to set them up for success. This starts with number one, laying out very clear expectations. Number two, whenever you notice an individual not meeting your expectation, going and having a conversation with them about that. If you have not listened to those earlier episodes, I really walk through language to use when you notice someone is not doing what they're supposed to be doing. And so let's say, for example, a customer walks in and your customer service rep, that's the first person they see when they walk in the door, does not greet them. They continue working on their computer, they continue looking down, and this individual is waiting at the counter for them to engage them. Watch that unfold, and then when the time comes, when the area is clear, maybe when you see this individual in the break room, or maybe you call them into your office and you say, hey, just now, or hey, earlier today, or this morning, when an individual walked in, one of our customers walked in, and I noticed you continued to work on your computer. And I appreciate that you are dedicated to getting things done when customers are not here. But as a reminder, when a customer walks in, we want to give them full attention. We want to be the first to engage them so that they don't need to look for who to engage with. We need to engage them with a smile and a greeting and ask them about their day or ask them what we can do to help. So the next time a customer walks in, I do expect that you stop working on what you're doing and handle that customer professionally and appropriately. And then you get agreement. Does that sound like something you can do? Does that work for you? Right? And maybe we even need to back up a step and get more curious. Hey, earlier today, I noticed an individual came in and you continued working at your computer. What is it you were working on today? Or can you tell me a little bit about that? And maybe they're like, oh man, I needed to get this report done by 11 a.m. and it was 10:54 and I didn't know if this customer was going to pull my attention away for a long period of time. And so I just wanted to finish that. And it took me an extra couple minutes and I know I needed to greet the customer. And then you can say, oh, I'm so glad you said that, because one of our expectations is that we give our attention and our engagement to the customer when they walk in the door so that they can feel super confident walking through our doors and engaging with our team. And so I just appreciate that, yes, you're dedicated to your work, but we also need to have priority on our customer when they walk in the door. So I'm glad to hear that you know that. I would love to see that next time. Right? And now we are being curious, finding out why they continued to work, but also being very clear. The expectation is we engage them. And notice what else I shared in that conversation, the why. Engage them so that they can feel confident walking in the door and working with our team, right? So you're not only giving them an expectation, you're giving them the why, which is so important because it causes people to act faster when they know the why. Once you've investigated those expectations that you have for people that they are not following through on, I really want to empower you to write down those expectations in a very clear way. So if something you have noticed is someone not clocking in on time, I want you on that same piece of paper to write down what is the expectation and why is it important. And then I'm going to empower you to go have that conversation this week. This week. Even if they haven't been late for a week, we're going to make sure to bring it up. And we're going to bring it up in the most professional and respectful way, but as a simple reminder of the expectation. Now, if there has been an expectation that management, yourself, leadership, has not been following through on for weeks or months, I need you to get very clear on what is the expectation, why is it important, and are you willing to follow through on it? Are you and the rest of the leadership team willing to follow through? Because if you are not, do not give out that expectation. And right now, as I am talking about this, there's something nagging in the back of my mind, which is if you are a parent and you are setting up an expectation that you are not willing to follow through on, or your spouse is not willing to follow through on, do not set that expectation. Find an expectation that you and your spouse, and maybe even your kids, will agree on, that you are willing to follow through on. Because setting expectations that no one is going to follow through on is a waste of time, energy, and truly wasting the respect and the trust within your team. And so, investigate what people are not doing. Write down the expectation and the why. Double check that you're willing to follow through on it, and then go have these conversations. It is okay to reset your expectations. It is absolutely okay to do that. It is not okay to do that without communicating them first. And so this is why it is so important for you to just take a moment to investigate and then go model those expectations and then follow through on them. This is how we set our team up for success. This is how we build trust. And this is how we gain momentum, because we are being extremely clear on what we need and why it's important for the work that you do. I am excited to hear about your results. Remember, this episode is called What If It Works? Because I know there are some of you right now listening to this episode saying, but Anne, we've told them. But Anne, we've put it in an email. But Anne, we've talked about it at a staff meeting. And I am here to say, when you get clear, when you write that list, when you think about how much you have physically done, how much your leadership team has done to enforce this expectation, and when you go back and have singular conversations with the individuals that are not meeting this expectation, you will see results. You will see a change. Number one, it's going to be front of mind for you and your management team and the rest of your employees. Number two, when you get consistent, other people get consistent too. And so it really, truly does start with us. And when I tell you what if it works, I just want to tell you that it will. People will get on board, maybe not right away. But for the most part, I have seen this work within minutes of you getting super clear and then everyone agreeing to the expectation and everybody being held to that new standard. As a classroom teacher, this was constant in my room. I was constantly reviewing expectations. I was constantly setting new expectations when I realized one was not working and we were not following through on it and it was not getting us the results we wanted. And so it is okay to set a new expectation. It is also okay to admit failure or mistake. Hey, this is what I've done in the past, and I am now realizing that I was unclear on my expectation. And so in today's meeting, I want to get very clear with you on what the expectation is for our team. That is going to create the momentum that I know you and your team need to to just get moving forward and get more done and feel more accomplished and trust each other more so that you can all live out to your full potential. And that is what we want here on the What If It Works podcast. We want people living and growing into their full potential. And the way we do that as leaders is we do that ourselves. We model that for them. We make an impact on them and we influence them to do the same things for their lives. I am so grateful that you listened today. I cannot wait to hear how you utilized this episode and set clear expectations and followed through on them with your team. Feel free to send me an email with what you are experiencing, even if it is not positive, because I am here to help you create that positive, thriving culture. And I know there's going to be bumps in the road, and I know there's going to be twists and turns, but that is okay. I want to help you get consistent and stay consistent so that the people around you can feel confident in their actions and deliver consistency back to you, which also helps them in their environments as well. Always are able to shoot me an email at impact@anvote.com. I read every single one of those and I respond to every single one. And I'm so grateful for those of you who are listening and engaging and applying this information with your team. I know they appreciate it, and I know that your lives are being changed at the same time. And that is the mission here. And I'm so grateful for all of you. I hope you have a dynamite week. Do not forget that you can set new expectations for yourself and your team at any time, as long as you have the success of the people around you in mind. So grateful you're here. Have the best week. If you were new here, welcome, welcome, welcome. I am so grateful that you gave this episode a listen. This podcast is for leaders who are looking to step into their true leadership skills, sharpen their communication skills, and set their team up for success so that they can thrive, and so can you. We want people feeling valued, trusted, and confident over here on the What If It Works podcast. Feel free to go through those previous episodes and look for those pieces of information that you feel you truly need in order to create that thriving culture that you know you will be successful in, and so will your team and your people. Always feel free to reach out at impact@anvote.com. I am a culture coach and a motivational speaker here to help you step into your true potential. If you are looking for a speaker, you can head on over to anvote.com/speaking to book a conversation with me to learn more about what I speak on and how I can help your team thrive. And excited to work with you as we learn and grow and continue to change lives.